Hello, my name's James Cogan. I'm the Socialist Equality Party candidate for the seat of Brainler and also the SEP's national organiser. This is the third federal election I've contested, and I'm very proud to be standing in one of the seats where the socialist movement has such a long history.
76% of residents think the federal government should stick to its commitment to put a price on carbon. What is your party's position on a carbon price?
Right, well, carbon prices are not a solution to the global threat of climate change. They are an attempt to fashion a free market response to a crisis that itself is caused by the destructive operations of the capitalist market and the domination of every area of industry by transnational corporations driven by the naked pursuit of profit. The fundamental problem with carbon pricing, whether it's within one country or even within one region of the world, is that it does not address who owns and controls finance, industry and above all energy generation on a global scale. There is no national solution to the problem of climate change. Everywhere in the world, corporate interests and the national governments that serve them are hindering or blocking every effort to achieve the scientifically necessary levels of emission reduction. Summit after summit on an international scale has ended without any meaningful agreement. Parties like Labor and the Greens accommodate to the demands and dictates of big business by proposing policies such as carbon pricing that transfer the cost of even minimal changes to the rates of emission onto the backs of ordinary working people. Labor's emission trading scheme, for example, could lead to as much as $1,000 in extra power costs to already struggling working class families. The Socialist Equality Party advocates a socialist solution to climate change. A world movement of the working class is required that has as its perspective placing the banks and the major corporations, particularly the energy industry, under democratic control and the public ownership of a workers' government. Taxes on the incomes and the property of the wealthy must be massively increased to finance the necessary transformation required in industry. Such socialist measures would liberate vast resources from private hands and enable a rapid transition of the energy industry, both rapidly and rationally, to non-carbon based power generation and the development of alternate sources of fuel for transportation. Thank you.
Right now there are plans for 12 new coal-fired power stations that, if approved, will increase Australia's emissions by up to 7%. 83% of residents think that new power in New South Wales should come from renewable sources rather than coal. What is your party's position on these power stations? Should they go ahead?
Right, the Socialist Equality Party does not support the construction or further expansion of coal-fired power stations. The constructions of such stations in Australia and on even grander scale in other parts of the world reflects the immense influence and control exerted over national governments by transnational mining industry and by the financial corporations that back them. Controlling billions of dollars in assets, they use their intimate connections with parties like Labor and Liberal and with the thoroughly corporatised trade unions to ensure that there is no threat to the profits they make from coal-based energy production. Companies like Xstrata, Rio Tinto and BH Billiton, for example, were among the forces behind the recent removal of a democratically elected Prime Minister for even daring to suggest that their taxes be increased. The claims of the Greens that the environment can be defended within such a social order is really a recipe for catastrophe. The nexus between corporate power and government decision-making can only be broken by an international and independent political movement of the working class that has as its aim taking the key levers of the economy out of private hands. On the basis of public ownership of the means of production, there would be no question of finding the resources necessary to develop alternatives to coal-based energy production. At the same time, measures could be taken to ensure that no worker employed in carbon-based industries lost either their income or working conditions as a result of the necessary restructuring required. Thanks.
89% of residents think that Australia should develop a plan to move to 100% renewable energy. Does your party have such a plan, and what is its time frame?
The SEP has a definite plan for a transition to 100% renewable energy, but resolving the climate change crisis is impossible outside of the expropriation of the giant global polluters under the democratic control of working people. Only then can a rational plan be developed on a world scale to produce the energy required to meet social needs while protecting the environment at the same time. This must begin, obviously, with the investment of tens of billions into alternate forms of energy and transport. Now, the time frame for implementing such a plan depends upon the development of a conscious and independent and revolutionary movement of the working class. There will be no solution to this crisis within the framework of the failed capitalist system. What is certain is that the developing struggles around the globe between the capitalist class and the working class, be that over the budget austerity measures, be it over war, be it over democratic rights, or over the fate of our environment, is going to determine the fate of humanity. If you want to fight for the interests of the working class, including a genuine response to the threat of climate change, then fight for the socialist and internationalist perspective put forward by the Socialist Equality Party and the International Committee of the Fourth International, which is the World Trotskyist movement. Thank you.